We are learning web dev with Go, and where we left off was we were learning about handle func and handle and type handler, and we're going to start off with a little review. And the first one is a review exercise, so I'm going to show you the solution for that, and then I'm going to do more review about all that stuff and review exercise. So let's call it review exercise. And right click and new and main.go. And so we want to create a little program, and this program is going to have templates in it. And so I'm going to have a func init to parse my, I wonder if I could do a init. Cool. Func init to parse my templates, but first I need to have a variable, var tpl, anything, and it's going to be a pointer to template.template. And the reason it's a pointer to a template from package HTML template is because when we do parse files or parse glob, and we go look at that, and we are at HTML template. So when we do parse files or parse glob, which brings everything into, all of the templates into a variable so that we can work with them, we get a pointer to a template back. And so I want a variable up at the package level so that it could be accessed inside func init, func main. So now I'm going to parse my templates. And to do that, what do I do next? What's the thing we learned last week? How many people did coding between last week and this week on Go? Yes. Yes. Oh.
Still super slow though.
Yes, great. Cool. So template, yeah, me too, for like a year. Took me a long time. So template must, right? And why can we use template must? Because template must takes a pointer to a template in there. It's a wrapper function, meaning it makes a lot of money for singing songs. And we're going to pass in parse glob will be right in the middle right here. Parse glob will run, return a pointer to a template in there. That's exactly what this wants. So we're going to put parse glob right in the middle. And this just handles the error for us. So if we look at template must, right, it says, hey, if error's not nil, panic, and then return T if all is well. All right. So template must, and we're going to have template.parse glob, and we're just going to put in a pattern here, and it's going to be templates.star. And so I'm going to create a folder, and that folder will be templates. And then inside templates, create a couple of templates. And so we'll have index.go.html. What did I say? Foobar and me, right? foo.go.html. And then we'll also have bar.go.html. And then we'll also have me.go.html. And then I could also do some includes, right? And these can be called anything, but I'll just call it an include header.go.html. And I will do an include footer.go.html. And inside my footer, I'm going to define a template, and this template will be called footer. And then in here, I need to end that. So I have all my footer stuff here. And my footer will end my body tag. And it'll end my HTML tag. So that'll be the footer. And then my header, I'm going to use a little emmet, exclamation point, tab. My header will be all this stuff. So I'm just going to get rid of all that. And so here's my header. Cool. And now I need to start out each of my templates with template header. Bring that in. And then I'll finish them with template footer. Bring that in. and select all that, put it on each of those. So now I have to put in the middle is whatever I want to say. So foo, h1, you are at foo, bar, h1, you are at bar, and then this one, h1, you are at the about me. You're at about me. And then we're going to have data that gets passed into each of them. Y'all with me? Is it starting to look familiar? Is it kind of exciting to feel the familiarity and like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, those oh yeahs? Patrick? Cool. All right, so that's all looking cool. So we've parsed everything in the templates folder. And I could have done .gohtml, so do everything with the gohtml extension. So sometimes we do that. They all have the gohtml. It all looks good. So parse all those. Now we need to set some routes. So we could create our own serve mux if we wanted. New serve mux just gave me a serve mix. I'm going to call it a serve mix because that sounds much slicker. And then attached to mux, when I call a serve mux, a mux is a multiplexer or a router, right? It routes things. And I need to go to not the template, but net HTTP package. You see this code? So in net HTTP, we could use a serve mux, create a new serve mux, right? It gives us a pointer to serve mux, and we have these function methods available to us. The serve HTTP response writer pointer to request method. What's special about that one? This is the entry point to the net HTTP package. You got to understand this. What's special about that method? Serve HTTP response writer pointer to request. What is special about that method? This is the foundation of the net HTTP package. Any value, right, that is of a type that has that method implicitly implements the handler interface. So if we remember, the handler interface is type handler right here. Here's the handler interface. Serve HTTP response writer pointer to request. That's an interface. And it says you have to have this method. And if you have this method, you implicitly, not explicitly, you don't have to explicitly say implements. You implicitly implement the handler interface. So this serve mux right here, whenever you have a value of type pointer to serve mux, that value has this method attached to it. And since it has that method attached to it, serve HTTP response writer pointer to request, it implicitly implements the handler interface. So anything that asks for a handler, like listen and serve wants a handler. Now this is just an identifier, so don't freak out. Handler, handler. Hey, handler, handler. Hey, Bob, Bob. Right, that's just an identifier, that little one right there. But this wants a value of type handler. So our serve mux, right, any value of type pointer to serve mux is also type handler. So we can pass in a serve mux to listen and serve. And with the serve mux, we also have these methods, handle and handle func. Handle wants a handler. Handle func wants a function with this signature. A func with a response writer and a pointer to request. You're seeing a pattern here. Response, request. That pattern exists because this is the web. It's client-server architecture where a client makes a request to a server and then the server writes a response to that client. So we got to have request response. That's the handler, and then it's also this function. So we're going to come back to our code, and we got our mux, and we can say mux dot handle func, and we can say at that route I want you to run foo. Do I say anything up there about what routes? No. And I called that handle fucking. That's not quite what I'm going for. I didn't mean that to come out the way that sounded. And then we have bar. And then we're going to have about me. And so now I just need to create functions. I'll create func foo first. And what do I need here for it to be passed into handle func? What is that signature? What are the parameters that need to be there? What are they? Response writer, pointer to an HTTP request. We are rocking the code, right? So that's my foo. I need a bar, and I need an about. Now in foo, we're going to do template.execute template, TBL, TBL.execute template, because TPL, when you parse all your templates, TBL holds, it's like a container that holds all these templates that got parsed into it. So then I could do TBL execute template to my response, and I want to execute which template? I want to execute, this is foo.go.html, and I could pass in no data. And then just copy that. And this one will be bar. This one will be about. Cool? So I think that's all right. So let's run it and see what happens. I think that'll run. Sometimes a surprise. And and this is like what? 27. Unexpected, unterminated, quoted string in define clause, and include header go HTML1. Include header. I didn't call this include footer. I'm going to change that. And those are just includes. And I've got double quotes there. I love compilers, right? If that was like JavaScript, that probably would have, who knows what it would do, but compilers like tell you when you've made errors. They are your friend. Go run, main.go, instantly exited. So I've got something wrong. What did I forget to do? Thank you. Listen and serve, colon 8080, mux. Pass in my handler. Listen and serve wants a handler. There's my mux. Let's try it again. You're at foo. You're a bar. And what did I call it? I think I called it about. I called it about, and there's about. And I called it about X. Typo. Dun, dun, dun. What did I put on about? Me.gohtml is the name of it. So I'm going to change the name of this. About. Can I just do that? There we go. Okay, let's restart it. Yay. Okay, so now we want to pass some information in. And the first one we wanted to do on foo was to pass in the method. And so we could go and we could look at the documentation, or I like doing it this way right here sometimes. I could click on my request, because that's what this is. And that request is that huge struct. This is that same struct that you see close others. This is that same struct that you see right here. Okay? And I want my method, request method. Look at that right there. Cool. And it's a string. Cool. So I'm just going to pass, close others. I'm just going to pass in right here, request method. Done. And then in foo, and just to be HTML-y, yeah? And then for bar, I wanted the path. So I could go back and I could look at this and figure out how can I do the path. URL, proto major, proto minor, header, body. You know, instead of reading, path. Fields other than, for most requests, fields other than path and raw query will be empty. That's cool. So there's path. Just look and see if there's any other path. Like method was easy. It's right at the top level. So I'm going to do request and then .url. Request.url. And if I go look at URL, package net URL, and then URL, it's a struct, and it has path, raw query. And what did it say in the previous documentation? Other than path and raw query will be empty. Okay, let's do path. Path. And you could understand the parts of a URL by Googling anatomy URL. Anatomy of a URL. I like this one. And so here are the different parts of a URL. Protocol, subdomain, domain, port, path, right? So the path's just that gray part. The query, the parameter. So raw query would give me all that stuff out to the right. And the fragment. So interesting. Just looking at my GitHub. So request URL path. And what does that give me? Path is a string. So I'm going to pass in a string. And that's going to go to bar. And I could wrap that in a paragraph. Here is your path. And then the last one is some information about me. So data, colon equals, composite literal. So I do the type, right? And then after the type, I give it the curly braces and the values. This is the type. Remember composite literal? I could have also done up above, you know, like type person, struct, and then fname, and I want that to be accessible, string. So I need to be capitalized to be visible outside the package. I think we're going to try lowercase and see. Fname, lname, right? I could have done that, and then down here I could have done person. All right? So it's the type, and then the curly braces, and then the data. But instead, I could just do an anonymous struct right there, my words, and then put in the fields, and then populate them. My alter ego. and then pass data in, and then go to, and I'll just call this D, so there's no confusion. And then go to like, you know, no confusion about like, hey, it has to be named a certain way. So I could then go fname, lname. And one thing we're testing here is whether or not we need capitalization to get fname and lname to come. And you notice I did those lowercase. So now let's run this again. You're a foo. Here's the request method, get. I don't know if I did the, and there's the path, bar, /bar. I'm just wondering if I did the trailing bar. I did not. So I could do a trailer here, and I'll catch everything that's bar. Haha. Could have gotten the query out and seen that. The raw query. So we can modify that, and we could create a D : equals struct, and we could say, well, first let's see before we modify. Let's go to about and see if about works. Do vulnerable about. You are about me. Didn't work. You are at about me, right? We don't see James Bond. So we'll fix that first. And to fix that, fname, lname, to be exported outside a package. Capitalization means it's visible, exported outside a package. And I think I'm doing those the wrong syntax. Fname. I usually do this. All right. Next word. Let's try that and see what happens. James Bond. Interestingly, the struct, I don't know. Okay, cool. So that's that. Now if we wanted to see the raw query, I could do this. So the anatomy of a URL, we've closed it, but let's look at it again. Here's the queries, everything right there. So let's get the raw query. So we'll do raw query. Oh, I don't want that. RQ, raw query. I'll stick with that. Raw query. There's a string. And right here, I'm going to pass in request.url dot raw query, and it gives me a string. And then I can come to my template and I need on this, I don't think I need that actually. Let me just do the variables right here. There's a raw query. It's actually a drink is equal to what's he like? Martini, right? Gin martini. Isn't that Bond? Cool. So I'm going to save all this as 01. How many people this is helpful? Okay. And I'm going to copy it and make it 02. And I'm going to push this all to GitHub. Get pushy. Okay, that's on GitHub. And so now go into 02, and I want you to rewrite this to use the default serve mux.